Hi, I'm Jan Holden, serving currently as president of the International Association for Near-Death Studies, IANDS. You're about to see a less than 10-minute testimonial by Suzanne Giesemann about her after-death communication with her stepdaughter, Susan Marie Giesemann Babbage. This talk is from the 2023 IANDS Spring Symposium on the topic of the role of near-death and related experiences in grief and grief counseling. If you'd like to see the entire symposium recording, which includes several other testimonials, information about how to acquire the video on demand will be at the end of this video. And if you're a nurse, through April 22nd, 2024, you can earn 5.25 CNE for viewing the symposium recording and completing a program evaluation. See information at the end of this video.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Giesemann, and I've been asked to talk to you about my after-death communication with my stepdaughter, Susan. She was a sergeant in the Marine Corps and was crossing the flight line at work when she was struck and killed by lightning. She was 6 months pregnant at the time, and clearly this was devastating for our family. My husband and I had both served full careers in the U.S. Navy, so we hadn't given much thought to an afterlife or anything spiritual at the time. But when I looked at Susan's body in the coffin, I had an epiphany. I just knew that something enlivens the body and that there was no way that Susan's spirit could have been killed by that bolt out of the blue. So within days, she started sending signs, but I didn't know that those across the veil can do that. The TV in our hotel room went on by itself, just as I was reading about how those in the afterlife can send us signs by manipulating electronics. You see, with that epiphany came a curiosity to learn more about the afterlife. So I picked up a few books that were written by mediums. I'd never even heard of a medium, with no idea that I would one day be working as a medium. And that book proved to provide several synchronicities that started with the television. And then we were on our boat just 2 weeks after Susan passed. We had returned to Europe, where we were cruising full time, sailing underway, and a butterfly followed us at sea for 3 days. I remarked to my husband that this seemed a little strange. Did you notice that butterfly back there? And he said, yeah, it's been following us. Just as we commented on it, it flew between the two of us and went away. I returned to my book about the afterlife, and there the author described, again, how those in spirit often send you signs that can be as subtle as a butterfly in the middle of winter. And I looked at my husband and I said, or in the middle of the Adriatic Sea? So the signs continued, and I started to relate them to possible visits from Susan. But my entire worldview had to change when I could not deny what happened when my husband and I went to visit a medium. She gave us evidence that Susan was right there in the room with us, things she couldn't possibly have known. For example, there's a young woman standing here. Now, she didn't know we were hoping to hear from a daughter. She didn't have our last name and couldn't look us up. And she said, this young woman's wearing a brown uniform, and she's looking at you, sir, and saying, Daddy, Daddy. I could go on and on with the evidence, but the biggest one that shook us to our core was when she said, and this young woman is bringing with her a little baby boy who she wants to introduce to you, but he's standing back shyly, sucking his thumb as if he doesn't know you. That medium could not have known that Susan was pregnant with a baby boy. So I really had to adjust my worldview. I had been meditating for a year at that point when we went to see the medium, and I just kept meditating, saying, Susan, I want to feel you for myself. Now, these were after-death communications in the forms of signs and synchronicities, and then a visit with the medium. But the biggest blessing, the biggest ADC that I had was my first tangible visit from Susan in meditation. There was no doubt that it was her. I heard her voice, I felt her loving presence, and I said, Susan, after all this time trying to connect with you myself, you're here. Now, I know I'm going to leave this meditation, Susan, and I'm going to tell your dad, Susan is here, and he'll probably say, that's nice, honey. So you better tell me something that I couldn't possibly know to prove this is you. Well, she told me 3 things in a row about her biological mother. And I knew we would be able to validate these things. So I came out of meditation all excited and I said, Ty, we have to call your ex-wife because she told me things that Angie will be able to validate. We called her and I said, what's up with you and a ladder? Some experience with a ladder in the last couple of days. And she said, oh, I was just at a wedding and we couldn't find this ladder. Everybody's running around saying, where's the ladder? Now, I couldn't think of a recent experience with a ladder, so that was one check. The second one was, I said, Susan just told us your cat is sick. And Angie said, yeah, I just brought the cat home from the veterinarian. It's on medication. And the third one was, Susan told me you have Christmas lights up in your house right now, even though it's October. And Angie said, yes, they're up the banister year round. That was such a turning point for me right there, because none of us could deny that was Susan. We had no way of knowing those things otherwise. Some people might say, perhaps I was just getting data out of Angie's field, but no, this was interactive. When you feel that presence, you know. So how did this change my grief journey? Step by step, it opened me to the awareness that we are part of something so much more, that death really is not the end. Now, the grief journey is one we all need to go through. We have to process that pain, and it comes in waves. It's not like you have one after-death communication and that's the end of your grief. No, it will come up as you need to process things, as memories arise, they trigger things, and then you learn new ways to deal with those waves of grief. But in the meantime, in the midst of the pain, we can remind ourselves, yes, but they are still here. I have an ongoing series of communications with Susan. I've listed all the many times that she's visited me, but she drops in from time to time. And now it's just a continuing relationship with her. And that's what I love sharing with other people. This awareness that the grief that comes from not having them physically present with us may always be here, but we learn to relate to our loved ones who have passed in a new way. We come to know that love doesn't die because their presence is always with us.